Now, Dr. Vinay P. Sahasrabuddhe.
Yeah, sir. What a subject, sir.
Honorable Deputy Chairman, sir, I am here to support this bill, which is very unique in many ways. Sir, we know that the history of management studies in our country dates back to 50s, and the first management institution in our country, as I understand, was a private initiative. It was not a government institution, and it was established first of all in Kolkata. Then in 1960s, as was pointed out by Mr. Rajya, the government came into this sector in a more big way, and we had the Indian Institute of Management established first of all in Kolkata and thereafter in Ahmedabad and in Bangalore and all other cities as well. But sir, the importance of this bill is basically because it adheres to what we have been saying, our Prime Minister has been saying, which is minimum government and maximum governance. And therefore, the bill basically aims at giving requisite functional autonomy to the Indian Institute of Management and other management institutions as well. This, I believe, is a departure from the set thinking, from the traditional thinking, where we think that since we are paying, we are the paymasters, we are providing resources, so we will have a bigger say and a control over the management of the institutions. I believe this is an archaic thinking, and we have to enter into the new era with a new thinking, which is why I wholeheartedly welcome this bill. Sir, I am not going to give a long speech because it doesn't require, basically because the House would be almost unanimous in supporting this bill. I agree, sir, I agree. But these are the occasions where we get some chance to deliberate upon, so I am sure you will be tolerant enough to listen to me, sir. I know, sir. Sir, I just wanted to make 2-3 points. Basically, in our country, while we have maybe hundreds of institutions in the form of colleges, universities, and even management institutions and other organizations, including, say, there are big hospitals, there are big museums. But unfortunately, in our country, the science of institution building, and some people may describe it as an art of institution building as well, whatever, is not being looked after very scientifically. We don't have very respectable institutions, which are respected world over. There are few institutions, because creating an institution, building the structure of the institution in bricks and mortars is comparatively easy. But to inculcate a very vibrant institutional life in an institution is very difficult. And I believe autonomy plays a key role in the art of institution building. Because autonomy is in a way the life source of the institutional characteristic of any such academy. And therefore, I believe this kind of a bill, which is going to give further and greater autonomy to all these institutions, is going to inculcate new life. Their institutional life is going to be further, more vibrant than what it is today. But we also have to be mindful of certain challenges which the management institution sector is facing. Some of the challenges were referred to, and very rightly, by Professor Rajiv Gowda earlier. Sir, many a times, these institutions are coming out with candidates who lack the leadership abilities. We find very polished management graduates speaking in fluent English and very good at information technology, and every now and then they can come out with a beautiful PowerPoint presentation, which many a times we find that it doesn't have a power, doesn't have a point as well. Even then, the kind of leadership element that we expect from them, where they have an ability to take decisions, where they have an ability to comprehend the things, where they have an ability to see for the future, an ability to think big, many a times it has been found that they are lacking on these faculties. And therefore, cultivating leaders is also a major a significant item on the agenda of the management institutions, I believe, and towards that, I believe much is required to be done. Another aspect is the inculcation of values like, say, for example, integrity. See, it is the management graduates who are manning several corporate organizations these days. And there are many corporate organizations, whether in public sector or in private sector, which are not totally free of financial wrongdoings. And if the element of integrity is missing, if we are not in a position to inculcate that element of integrity, I believe it is high time we revisit the syllabus of the management institutions and then try and explore the ways how do we more effectively inculcate these things. Sir, there are other 2-3 issues also which I would like to flag. For example, innovation, creativity. I mean, these are the days of thinking out of the box. But many a times we believe that the kind of products that are coming out of Indian Institute of Management and other management institutions as well are thinking alike, looking alike, talking alike. I mean, the element of innovation at times we find is missing. Something requires to be done to further promote this faculty of innovation as well, sir. Again, insofar as the problems that are being faced by management institutions are concerned, there is a proliferation of business schools as what they are being termed these days. I mean, last 10, 20 years have seen many more management institutions coming up. But as I was saying earlier, for example, I come from Mumbai, sir, and the Mumbai University manages Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies. Once upon a time, a very renowned organization. But the management of the management institution itself was in shambles, sir. Because the management, again, has to be in a way very democratic, very participative. And therefore, I would take this opportunity in suggesting, while the act has already been set and we are going to deliberate on that and pass it, but at certain further future occasion, can we think of greater participation of the students? I'm happy that there is a scope for participation of the alumnus. That is important. But the present students, they also need to have some say in the management of the institutions. At the same time, the non-teaching staff. Sir, in several universities, colleges, schools, it has been the tradition in our country, unfortunately, to consider non-teaching staff as non-learning. As if they cannot be trained, they cannot be given any kind of a training. Why this should be, I mean, if they have to take the ownership of the institution, they should be made a part of the management. So can we, at some future occasion, think of having the non-teaching members as well? Thirdly, I mean, we are creating some institutions, providing them some resources, some big business house stands behind them, they support them. It's very welcome. But can't we ask a couple of management institutions, at least as an experiment, to take care of some of the schools in villages, for example? Let them take it as a challenge, how to manage that school, say, for example, how to prevent the dropout rate of, say, girls from those particular schools. I mean, they should be asked to have their knowledge gathering or the knowledge creation linked to the problems that the society is facing today. Otherwise, what will happen is that it will become kind of an ivory tower education. I believe the present day problems need to be reflected in the syllabus that the management institutions are teaching, and through that we can have a greater and vibrant and more productive linkage of these institutions with the society of which they are an important part. Another 2 things, sir. We are finding that the quality of education is also deteriorating. I mean, many research reports are there, many studies have already been undertaken by various organizations, and they have repeatedly pointed out that the quality of education is deteriorating. Something or the other will have to be done for that. And one of the reasons for that is the faculty crunch. Why management institutions are not being able to attract good talent? Because most of the very qualified, highly qualified management graduates are eventually landing in some corporate houses. They don't look at teaching as an attractive, lucrative profession. Few exceptions are there, I understand. But I believe we require many more quality teachers to strengthen the faculty, to strengthen the bench strength of the academic staff of the management institutions. Towards that also, I think we will have to pay some attention. Some of my suggestions, and with that I will come to the end of my speech, sir. Why can't we think of creating Indian Institute of Managements and the products of these institutions of that level where they can compete with the Indian Administrative Service, IAS, for example. This can be done. I mean, we have to think about that, because otherwise what has happened is the IAS people are enjoying such a unique position. Nobody can touch them. I mean, that kind of atmosphere is there. Unless we put them in competition with the IIM products, with the management graduates as well. And therefore, sir, let us work to create IIM and the management graduates and attach some brand value through greater specialization. For example, there are umpteen number of areas where we require management talent. For example, there are NGOs, voluntary organization, non-profit. Can't we have a specialization in non-profit management, NGO management, voluntary sector management? There are huge temples in our country, but the temple management is not something which we can boast about. Can't we have a temple management course introduced in Indian Institute of Management? Can't we have even our courts, for that matter, sir? If you visit any sessions court, high court, then the things are not something which we can be really taking pride about. I mean, can't we have some kind of a judicial management also? I don't know whether this is the right way of putting this suggestion forward, because judiciary has its own way of working. But still, insurance, cooperative, many more areas are coming, and therefore I believe we have to take all these emerging areas into consideration and provide a right kind of management leadership for which this country is certainly looking for. I mean, the country requires these kinds of management talents, and to that end, I believe there is much to do about. Lastly, sir, these are Indian Institute of Managements. Is there, and can we work towards making them truly Indian? I know in Kolkata, for example, the IIM Kolkata had a long and rich tradition of working on Indian ethos, Bhagavad Gita and management and things like that. I believe Indian civilization, the history of India, and the rich traditions that we have, our culture, we can certainly draw many things from them and come out with an Indian science of management as well. And there are, I'm sure, many studies have already been taken by several management researchers, but many more things, I believe, are required to be done. I recall what Mahatma Gandhi had said once upon a time about how to inculcate this Indianness in our education. Once, in writing in Young India in 1924, he had said that my Swaraj, that is self-rule, is to keep intact the genius of our civilization, sir. I want to write, Gandhiji says, new things, but they must all be written on the Indian slate. I would gladly borrow from the West when I can return the amount with decent interest. I believe we can certainly do that. And why I am saying so? Because Indian civilization provides all kinds of knowledge inputs, not only to the world, I mean, not only to India, but to the entire universe, to the world. And there are many people who are coming over here, who are studying Indian civilization, and let us look within and come out with a real Indian science of management. I believe we certainly can work towards that. I recall what Mark Tully had once said about the Indian civilization and the Indian genius, and with his quote, I will put a full stop to my own speech. Tully had said that the characteristic genius of the Indian mind is not to shake the beliefs of the common man, but to lead them by stages to the understanding of the deeper philosophical meaning behind their beliefs. But the Western world, and this is important, sir, but the Western world and the Indian elite who emulate it ignore the genius of the Indian mind. I hope the Indian Institute of Managements do not produce these kinds of genius who ignore the rustic wisdom, the Indian mind, because they want to write a full stop in a land where there are no full stops. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.